Hey guys, James from Mineset. How you going? Well, Tiago, you know me as. Just going to have a chat with Matt, a financial guy that we're recommending, and we're just going to talk to him about a few issues with the mining and the FIFO industries, and he's going to give us some tips and tricks. So if you want to introduce yourself, Matt.
Thanks, Tiago, mate. Matt Hearn, I am a certified financial planner professional. I am absolutely passionate about helping people afford to pursue a life that they really love. For over 15 years, I worked as a certified financial planning professional advising people, but now I really specialize in money coaching, particularly with my passion for the fly in, fly out workers, because I'm a former engineer who worked in resources.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, we'll just jump straight into it. We'll just, I'll talk about some of the habits that I see on site, and you just let us know what's good and what's bad.
Good idea.
Basically, we've got guys out there with I'm probably one of them as well. You go out and get the big expensive cars with the high loans, and you don't really care about the interest. You just want the car, so you do whatever you got to do to get the car. So what's good and bad about that, Matt? Like, what do you suggest?
Well, it's really common, right? But I reckon if we really stopped and think about it, we probably think it's not necessarily the best financial decision. But the funny thing about us humans, mate, is that we're not really good at making rational decisions. So even though our brain's probably sitting there saying, oh, this is a bad idea, there's this other part of our brain that seems to be a lot stronger that overrides that. And that's kind of like that desire for connection and the desire for fitting in. And the thing, that might be what you're seeing on site. And no matter what group people are in who are watching this, there's probably a sort of symbol of belonging in that group. And maybe the car on site is the symbol of belonging, the big four-wheel drive with all the fruit that maybe they only use once every 3 months when they're home or something and can get around to putting it in. So it's not really a great idea. It's because if you're borrowing to buy an asset like that, every dollar of interest that you pay is another dollar that you cannot spend another lifestyle. So I guess the rational brain says it's a bad idea, and it's a bad idea for a lot of reasons. And the borrowing money is one thing, and spending too much on a car. Yeah, we have to have a car, but do we need $100,000 car? Do we need even a $40,000 car? To be honest, because the trade-off is if I overspend on that car, with the story in my head that I'm justifying being, I want everybody else has got one, then what we are potentially missing out on is spending money on some other things that are really, really important to us that we won't be able to afford. And if we've maxed out our credit by that stage, we won't be able to borrow for them either.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on, we get a lot of lease cars and stuff like that? Like, obviously at the end you get the balloon payment. Like, are they good, or are they sort of a bad idea? Like, good and bad, or just bad?
Yeah, again, Tiago, I'm not a fan of them. Because novated leases are still, there's a borrowing component in most of them. Yeah. So I'm actually not a fan of borrowing for cars. Beside that first car that you get, maybe when you get out of high school and you maybe drop $5,000 on it just to get to your first job, every other car is a predictable purchase. The fact that you need to upgrade that car one day is predictable. And I'm not a fan of borrowing for predictable investments. So just because the attraction to novated lease appears to be the tax benefits, it's even better if you pay cash for it, buy it outright. Yeah. So, yeah, and the novated lease, the tax benefits are really not there unless you're using it if you're like a really high marginal tax rate, which, yeah, sure, some of the guys working in resources absolutely will be. But the other thing is you need to be driving at a hell of a lot of kilometres as well to get the real benefits. So, yes, if you meet those two criteria, then maybe you'll get a slight benefit, but much better benefit to actually save up for it and pay cash for it.
Yeah, because by the end of it, you're still got to get another loan to buy it unless you've saved while you're doing it. Usually no one does, so...
Yeah, and that's a really bad habit to get into because, again, what we're trying to avoid is that paying interest, because every dollar of interest you pay is a dollar less you get to spend on lifestyle.
Like spending habits sort of thing. Like a lot of us go on days off when we go away for weekend, like expensive weekends, and it's best to obviously save up and not do pay now, pay later schemes or anything like that. So it's just sort of cash is king, really, with you. Like that's your basic advice, really.
Well, it absolutely is. It is, but I guess I want to acknowledge that, yeah, I bet you every financial guy and gal says exactly that, cash is king. The real challenge is with us humans, And, you know, I'll stick my hand up with this. This is my daily struggle, has been ever since I was, you know, earning my first dollar. And not just in money, it's my daily struggle with my weight and my fitness as well, is that we struggle to do what we know is the best thing for us to do. And so yeah, that's the right advice to do. But a lot of folks watching this might go, yeah, right, Matt, but how do I do that when everyone around me is blazing cash? And that's the really tricky thing about it. Like, if going home and going on a holiday, and a nice holiday is really important to you, plan for it, save up for it, and also think a bit more deeply about it, in a sense of, what is it most important about that? Is it spending time with my partner? Is it going to a particular place? Does the 5-star matter to me? Can I get away with 4-star, for example? See if you can get the real buzz with spending less money out of it. That way you're going to have more money for other things in life. So for me, it's not about not doing things. It's around doing everything in moderation and making sure you've overall got enough money for all the things in life that matter to you, not just that one awesome weekend away.
Yeah, because like when we go away with my wife, like I want to get the $200, $300 a night room, and I want to stay in the flash. But really, we're only in there to literally sleep. We're never really in that. So the motels and that, you just drop your bags, sleep, and you leave again anyway. You're never really there. You just need a good shower, a good bed, and that's it.
Yeah, but I totally get that, because look, my days of youth hostels are well and truly behind me, right? So yeah, I kind of, when I go away, I like a little bit of comfort, but because that is important to me, I have to think about what's the other trade-offs there. Yeah. So, you know, recognizing that what you just said, like, oh yeah, we actually are barely in the hotel. Maybe you do one night in an awesome place, or maybe you go slightly less comfort, which it gives you more money to go and do activities while you're away, for example. So I don't want to project onto anybody, here's what you should and shouldn't do. For me, it's all around making sure you've got money for the things that really matter most to you in life. Yeah,
because you don't want to be double spending, like you're spending big on the room, and then you want to go eat in a flash restaurant, and then by the end of it, you've doubled the amount you want to spend, really, because you're doing two. You can do half and half, or you can do one or the other. It's all just a balance, I guess.
Look, and it absolutely is, right? And we are natural creatures where we love comfort, we love convenience. We're sort of like hardwired to go for more and more luxury. That's the trade-off of that really bothers me, and why I love having this chat with you, because I see too many guys, or folks, not just guys, but, you know, using the gender-neutral term of guys, of course. But just you see too many people who have done that blazing and attracted to that higher level of income, telling themselves they can afford it, but what then starts eating away in the back of their mind is the other things that they can't afford that do really important. For example, they had a gutful of their job and they can't quit. Because they're so attached to the five-star hotel on the weekends away, they can't believe that there's imagined a possibility that they wouldn't do that anymore. And that's the real struggle that I see with a lot of people that I work with from a cash flow coaching perspective, is that once they actually crunch the numbers and have that mirror reflecting to them, they can't fathom what they could possibly cut, because they've been so emotionally attached to that quality of life. So I guess I don't want to tell someone what they should and shouldn't spend their money on, but I would like to encourage people to think about what does really matter. And if you would like one day to have that choice to perhaps say quit work in a fly in, fly out and work locally, or then maybe start adjusting the way your spending patterns, or at least be prepared that this is a treat weekend away rather than going to be a habit. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sweet. That's definitely how I've started to look at it from my wife. She's pretty into saving money. She's not a tight ass, but yeah, she is pretty much. She likes to save where it counts anyway. Yeah, and look, I don't, and this is no judgment here, but that is really interesting, because you know, you and I've had chats about the mindset side stuff before, and breaking down stigma is what we've chatted about before, and the stigma about putting my hand up around the fact that I'm struggling a little bit, right? Yeah. And it's a lot to do with the words I use, the words that we use that can build that stigma up. And so even that word of tight ass has such negative connotations, or even the word of frugal, or even a more fancy word of austere. All those words, we've put some negative meanings on them, which actually works against us making good money decisions, because we have this story in our head saying, oh, I don't want to be perceived as a tight ass. And that's really unhelpful. So I guess, tying into the stuff that you're doing to break the stigma of the mental health challenges that we have, let's break the stigma and start the chat around what it means to be good with money. That it's not a bad thing. It's actually a badge of honor to be good with money, and to be making good decisions, whether we call them frugal or tight ass. Like, I almost want to get rid of the word tight ass in some ways.
Yeah, she knows it's in a good way. Like, it's just, she's actually made me so money conscious, not even funny. Like, I'll go to Coles and I'll look at the very bottom of the things, like this much per 100 gram, and I'll literally go and check, and just little things like that. She's just right into it. It's good.
Yeah, wonderful, and it's great.
Yeah. All right. Well, sweet. We'll end that chat there, Matt, and we'll have a chat another time.
Sounds good, mate. I'm looking forward to it.
Good one. See ya.